Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is bring about conversations of a psychological, mental health, emotional health paradigm. We do that as often as we can, usually several times per week. We make that happen for your listening pleasure. If you're looking for coaching, would love to be of assistance to you in any way that I can, please feel free to reach out at PO Perception on Twitter or in the About Me section of this YouTube page. And either way, we can make something good happen for you, at least I hope. So, what are some signs and signals that you may be close to burnout? Burnout is when your mind or your body or both have a negative reaction to the amount of stress that you're continually under, or being in flight, fight, or freeze syndrome for a continual length of time for a long-term duration. And so that can cause numerous problems, not limited to the fact that a person may not be taking the best care of themselves. So that means physical health as well as mental and emotional health take a back seat. A person who's burnt out is not necessarily worried about the toll things are taking on them. Many times it's because they're too close to the situation to see the truth of how they are not in a good space, but also they keep telling themselves the fundamental foundational lie that they can deal with it later. And so later never comes because later isn't on a calendar, and before they know it, they're ultimately either so burnt out that they're having physical symptoms as a result of their mental instability, or they are continuing to kind of feel more off balance and more off balance and more off balance, and then before they know it, they're in a space where their life is really ultimately a recipe for some level of disaster, not because it's necessarily what they want, but because they don't necessarily know how to go forward from there. The next thing is they have a negative slant to nearly everything they experience, everything they feel, everything they say. This is because the level of strength that it takes for them to get through the day is a constant slog, and so they're waiting for that next negative thing to happen. They're waiting for that next stressor to come. They're waiting for the idea that something else is going to go wrong. They're anticipating the worst case scenario on a continual basis because that's all they know. These individuals who go through the burnout cycle are individuals that it actually takes more energy to have hope in something than it does just to believe the worst case scenario at all times and in all ways. So when a person is dealing with this on a continual basis, they don't necessarily take the time necessary to take a break, be that a mental break, an emotional break, a psychological break, or any type of break. Really, it's more about their belief that they have to keep going, they have to keep holding on, they have to keep being their version of a good person, which includes but is not limited to the idea that taking a break means they're going to miss something or means that someone else will jump ahead of them. The illusion of competition often becomes a major source for the reason that people get into these burnout cycles. They think they have to be a certain level to be loved, to be valuable, to be secure in their job, secure in their relationship, or whatever else happens. And they hold on to negative emotions on a continual basis. The holding on to the negative emotions is ultimately for a couple of reasons. Number one, they've deemed themselves to be weak because they can't handle their own emotional state. Number two, they've deemed themselves to be unable to come up with solutions that don't require them to hold on to those negative emotions. And number three, they ultimately begin to feel like nothing in their life is ever going to improve. So what's the point of talking about any negative emotions they may experience or have? The last thing on that list is they'll stay in a negative job for an extended period of time. Obviously, leaving a job when one doesn't have the financial ability to recover is obviously not a good idea, not smart, not a good thing to do. But at the same time, if a person doesn't feel that they can ever get ahead from a financial perspective, there's a lot of challenges that come with the reality of making a decision to continue to go in a positive direction. When you begin to understand how to make that narrative come together, it's ultimately a good way to look at things, a good way to be. And when we begin to understand that we are continually kind of moving towards making better decisions versus beating ourselves up, it can also be easier to deal with the idea of what to do next. And so hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.